Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we will talk about a decisive shift in mindset that many men overlook but desperately need to understand. What happens when you stop chasing her? This isn't about playing games or using silence as a weapon. It's about reclaiming your emotional center and rediscovering your self-worth. In a world that often encourages men to overextend themselves just to gain affection or validation, this video offers a different perspective grounded in emotional strength, self-respect, and a bit of timeless Stoic wisdom. When you're constantly chasing her, seeking her attention, and centering your life around her approval, you unknowingly give up your power. But the moment you stop needing her, the moment you detach, focus inward, and begin living for yourself, the balance changes. That shift doesn't just affect how you feel, it rewrites the story she tells herself about you. So if you've ever felt anxious, constantly second-guessing what to text, or waiting on her response like your happiness depends on it, this video is for you. We'll explain why emotional detachment is not coldness but clarity, and why silence isn't avoidance but power. And why, when you finally stop chasing, you often become the one she starts to notice, maybe even change. Stay with me until the end, because what you'll learn today might not just change your relationships, it could change how you carry yourself for good. Let's get started. 1. Power shifts when you stop needing her. Something unexpected happens when a man stops chasing a woman, not out of strategy, but because he no longer seeks validation from her. Most men don't realize this, but the more they try to prove their worth through constant texting, compliments, and emotional overexposure, the more invisible they become. Predictability becomes their downfall. What began as interest quickly transformed into indifference, because there was no mystery, challenge, or polarity. A woman doesn't lose interest because you're kind or attentive. She loses interest when your presence no longer stirs anything inside her. When you're always available, always eager, the thrill of uncertainty disappears. Desperation doesn't whisper. It shouts, and what it says is simple. I have no other options. And no matter how empathetic a woman might be, something within her retreats from that signal. She may be unable to explain it logically, but emotionally she feels it is a weakness, and weakness never creates desire. But everything changes when a man steps back, not to punish or manipulate, but because he has reconnected with his sense of self-worth. Attention quietly begins to flow in the other direction. Her thoughts become less specific. She wonders why you've gone quiet. She questions her earlier judgments. Did I misread him? Has he really moved on? That shift, that silence, makes more impact than a dozen perfectly worded texts ever could. This isn't a game. It's a return to your center, a reclaiming of power not over her but within yourself. You start picking yourself when you detach from the need to be chosen. And paradoxically, she begins to see you again, not as the man who needed her to feel whole, but as the man who is whole with or without her. The irony is timeless. When you stop needing her, she starts needing to understand you. 2. She expects you to chase. Break the pattern. She's seen it before, and you have too. A man declares his feelings too soon, too fast, too fervently. The woman pulls away, unsure, not necessarily uninterested, but conditioned to test. His heart races, his messages multiply, and his attention intensifies. She doesn't feel cherished, she feels crowded, and what follows is almost always the same dance played to the same tune. He loves me, I pull away. He panics, I leave. She knows this story because she's written it in her head 100 times. It's the expected plot twist where he cracks and she walks. But what happens when you don't crack? What happens when, instead of chasing, you pause? No late-night texts asking where things went wrong, no sudden reactions to her stories online, no anxious need to repair something she hasn't admitted is broken. You become an unexpected chapter in her mental script. Your silence isn't absence, it's presence without pressure. It's a calm she can feel. For the first time in a long time, she has to sit with her thoughts instead of being distracted by yours. This kind of silence is not a punishment but a mirror. It invites her to consider not what you did wrong but why she pulled away in the first place. Suddenly, uncertainty doesn't belong to you, it becomes hers. She replays your last conversation not to confirm her decision, but to question it. Regret starts to whisper in quiet moments. Obsession isn't born from your persistence, but from your composure. When you step back, you don't disappear. You become the still point in her spinning thoughts, the storm's calm eye. And sometimes, that's exactly where a woman begins to realize what she's at risk of losing. 3. Silence creates scarcity. Scarcity creates value. In the delicate dance between men and women, silence holds more power than most men are willing to believe. Initially, your absence goes unnoticed, like a stone dropped into the ocean without a ripple. But that quiet, it's not emptiness. It's tension building. The silence isn't the end of something, it's the beginning of a shift. When a man chooses to step back, not out of manipulation but out of self-respect, he creates scarcity, and where there is scarcity, value follows. Women are deeply intuitive. They don't respond to words as much as they respond to energy. When a man disappears, not out of spite, but because he's genuinely engaged in living, something shifts, and her certainty erodes. The comfort of always having him there starts to fade, and suddenly the mind begins to wonder, why hasn't he reached out? What is he doing? Was he more valuable than I thought? This is the turning point where the value is recalibrated. Most men fail here. They pretend to be silent while glancing at their phones every 5 minutes, hoping she'll notice the void. But pretending is still an attachment. Real strength doesn't wear a mask. Real strength is when a man is so invested in his world that he forgets to wonder what she's thinking. That kind of energy, it's magnetic. When a man detaches with grace rather than bitterness, the contrast becomes undeniable. It's not about playing hard to get, it's about being hard to get. Because your life is complete, your time is precious, and your presence isn't free. As the scarcity of your presence grows, so does the sense of value in her eyes. That's not a trick, it's a truth rooted in human psychology. We only begin to crave what we no longer assume is guaranteed. A woman doesn't start valuing your silence because she enjoys the distance. She values it because, in your absence, she's forced to confront a question she hadn't considered before. What if he's not coming back? And that question, the one with no clear answer, reawakens desire. 4. Indifference is power. The real power in a relationship doesn't come from louder arguments or longer messages. It comes from the quiet absence of reaction. When a man no longer flinches at her silence or feels compelled to decode every story she posts, he has stepped back into his frame. Emotional reactivity is the leash, and indifference is the blade that cuts it. A woman knows when she still has a grip on your emotions. If her story gets viewed within seconds, or her post collects your likes each time, the message is clear. You're still orbiting her. But when the notifications stop appearing, When she scrolls and doesn't see your name, something inside her shifts. Not seeing you where she expects creates a psychological vacuum. She doesn't say it out loud, but the thoughts come uninvited. Why isn't he watching? Has he stopped caring? Has he moved on? These are not just questions, they're hauntings. The truth is, most men try to fake detachment. They wait a few hours before replying, mute her story but still watch it through an alt, or pretend they're unbothered while checking her profile daily. But women have an almost primal radar for authenticity. They don't look for the absence of attention. They feel for the lack of energy. And energy never lies. When a man becomes emotionally unpredictable, his value in her eyes quietly rises. This isn't about playing games. It's about removing her from the emotional center of your world and placing yourself back into it. That unpredictability is not an act. It's the result of healed detachment. You're not doing it to trigger her. You're simply no longer triggered by her. It's in that stillness that she begins to wonder, not because you're trying to make her guess, but because you've stopped needing her reaction to validate your presence. She becomes the one chasing clarity while you stand calmly in your certainty. Genuine indifference isn't loud. It's not a performance. It's the quiet power of a man with nothing to prove. 5. She will test you. Every woman, in one way or another, will test you. It's not always obvious, but you'll notice the signs if you pay attention. These tests often come in the form of subtle, seemingly innocent messages. One of the most common ways she may gauge your interest is through an accidental text. Perhaps she'll send a message meant for someone else, a simple "oops, wrong person," followed by a quick apology. You might wonder why she's reaching out when there's no real reason. The answer is more straightforward than you think. She's testing you. She wants to know if you'll bite. She wants to see if you'll respond, if you'll jump at the chance to start a conversation, even if it's just a casual, unimportant one. It's a move designed to gauge how much power she has over you. And here's the thing, if you respond and engage with that breadcrumb of a message, you've given her exactly what she wants. Replying confirms that you're still there, invested and eager to engage. You give her control of the interaction once again. This isn't about love or affection. It's not a signal that she's missing you or longing for a connection. It's an emotional test to see how you handle the subtle games of attraction and power. Think of it as a way of evaluating your emotional strength. Will you play her game? Or will you remain in control, unaffected by these small, trivial nudges? The right approach is simple but requires discipline. The best response? Silence. Don't fall for the temptation to respond. Don't feel compelled to engage in a back and forth over a simple text. Don't let her casual social media likes or comments sway you. Every time you don't respond, you reinforce your power. You show her that you're not easily influenced, that you're not swayed by fleeting attention. Silence in this case speaks volumes. What she's genuinely testing is your ability to remain steady. Will you break the silence for a brief, inconsequential exchange, or will you hold firm, showing that you're a man who understands the value of emotional restraint? Each time you resist the urge to give in, you reinforce your position and show her that you're not just another guy waiting for her to give you attention. You're a man who understands the dynamics of attraction and knows that emotional stability is key to maintaining power in any relationship. Remember, every time you hold back, you increase her curiosity. she'll begin to wonder what it is about you that makes you so different from the other men who fall for the most minor signs of attention. The more you demonstrate your emotional strength, the more she respects you, even if she doesn't fully understand why. It's not about the message, it's about how you choose to respond, or, more importantly, how you decide not to respond. 6. How to stay emotionally cold, become untouchable. In the intricate dance of relationships, one of men's most common mistakes is placing women at the center of their world. They invest so much energy into winning her over, understanding her, and attempting to mold their lives around her that they lose sight of themselves. This isn't just a mistake, it's a trap. When you make a woman the focal point of your existence, you become emotionally dependent. This dependency, in turn, weakens your position in the relationship and ultimately diminishes your attraction. To break free from this cycle, you need to restructure your life. The foundation of any fulfilling life is built on goals, personal growth, fitness, and your mission. This isn't about neglecting the relationship, but rather prioritizing your development. When you wake up each day with a clear mission of becoming the best version of yourself, your actions and energy will speak volumes. You're not waking up to get her back or trying to appease her emotions. Instead, you wake up to conquer yourself, to be better, stronger, and more focused on your journey. Emotional discipline is key to achieving this state of autonomy. One simple but powerful way to practice this is by cutting out the habit of obsessively checking her social media. In the age of instant connection, it's easy to fall into the trap of overanalyzing her status updates, photos, or interactions with others. But every time you do this, you give away a piece of your power. Her online presence becomes an emotional anchor that you tie yourself to, and by doing so, you allow it to control your mood and thoughts. Instead of drowning in this analysis cycle, take control of your emotions by redirecting your energy into your growth. Focus on what you can control: your fitness, your mind, your career, and your passions. You reclaim your power when you stop relying on external validation, including seeking constant reassurance from her social media. When you stop making her the focal point of your thoughts, you'll begin to notice a shift. Your emotional state becomes untouchable, impervious to external distractions. You become a man defined not by his relationship with a woman, but by his inner strength and purpose. In relationships, it's crucial to remember that you are not a passive participant waiting for validation. You are a man on a mission. The right woman will respect and admire this drive. When you align your life with your mission, when your value isn't dependent on her approval, you naturally become more attractive. Women are drawn to men who have their passions, goals, and ambitions. They want to be with someone who isn't just a follower of her whims, but is a leader of his own life. This doesn't mean being cold or distant. It means creating emotional space for yourself, prioritizing your well-being, and focusing on growth. Emotional discipline is about not letting the whims of another person determine your mood or energy. You'll see your relationships transform when you stop obsessing, overanalyzing, and living for yourself. You'll be the man who isn't easily swayed or influenced by external circumstances. This man is untouchable because his foundation is built on his strength, not the validation of others. 7. Now she's the one chasing you. At the beginning, she'll act as if she doesn't care. Her indifference will seem genuine, a subtle mask to hide what's going on beneath the surface. She might play it cool, pretending to be unaffected by your absence, but in reality, a quiet storm is brewing. She'll start to investigate. She'll ask your mutual friends about you, pretending to be casual, as if she's just curious. But the questions will be pointed out, She'll want to know where you've been, who you've been with, what you're doing. If she's still following you on social media, she might lurk on your profiles, watching silently as you post about your day-to-day life. Each post that's not about her, pushing her deeper into the mystery. But nothing will seem to satisfy her. You won't give her the answers she's searching for. As the days pass, she'll realize that the world she once knew, where you were always apart, has begun to move on without her. The absence of your presence in her life creates a void she cannot fill. The emptiness grows, and she can't push away a nagging question. Did I lose a man of real value? When she realized this, something significant had already shifted in you. You've outgrown her. What once seemed important now feels irrelevant. You no longer crave her validation or approval, and you've learned to value your worth far more than ever. There's no longing left in you for her to notice you. The chase that once might have consumed your thoughts has faded, replaced by a stronger sense of self. You've become someone who no longer waits for someone else to fill the gaps in your life. As she continues to chase after answers that will never come, she will begin to see a version of you she never thought possible, a version that no longer needs her to feel complete. It will be a painful realization for her, but it will also be an awakening, and in that moment, you will stand in the clarity of your growth, knowing that the pursuit you once felt was just a stepping stone to your independence. The pursuit of her has always been about learning to pursue yourself, and now that you've mastered that, she can only watch from the sidelines as you move forward. Ultimately, the fundamental transformation doesn't come when she starts chasing you, it comes when you no longer need her to. This isn't about playing emotional games or manipulating someone into caring. It's about reclaiming your power, mastering your emotions, and stepping fully into your worth. When you stop seeking validation, stop revolving your life around someone else, you disrupt the pattern she expected, and that disruption creates value. Absolute detachment isn't pretending you've moved on. It's when you genuinely have. You no longer respond to breadcrumbs. You no longer monitor her online presence. You no longer wake up wondering if she'll come back. Instead, you build a life full of purpose, discipline, and growth, that her silence no longer stings, because your self-worth no longer depends on anyone's attention. That's the core of emotional power. She starts to feel the shift, not because you pushed for it, but because your absence speaks louder than your presence ever did. You become the one she can't stop thinking about, not because you chased her, but because you stopped chasing anything but your evolution. True strength isn't loud, it's calm. It's the quiet confidence of a man who knows his value and refuses to compromise it. Remember, the ultimate power is not in making her regret losing you. It's in becoming someone even you would never walk away from. Now, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Have you ever experienced this shift in a relationship? What helped you reclaim your emotional control? Share your experiences in the comments below, and if you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more insights into emotional mastery, Stoic mindset, and building a life that commands respect. See you in the next one.